Every one of you watching this screen, look out.
Anything can happen in the next half hour.
What did I tell you about cartoons?
They've got a lot of brains, and they've got a lot of chutzpah.
Tell me how comic books make you feel, Dave.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Hi, this is Frantz, Kantor, illustrator, cartoonist, and toon talker, and I'm here with
Paul Harvey.
And Paul, what are we looking at today? We're looking at Weg's Day. Weg is William Ellis Green.
William Ellis Green.
And
actually changed his name to William so he could be Weg.
Right.
We believe it was Edward.
So it could have been Egg.
Yeah, which now Egg's okay.
Eggy. So today we're looking at Weg's Day from the early days, from the 1950s, right up to probably to the 70s.
So 1949 was the birth of the pocket cartoon.
Yeah, that's why we've called this the birth of the pocket cartoon.
The pocket cartoon, which is a little cartoon on the front of the paper.
Yep.
And I suppose when Weggy started, it was more about just humour, just nice jokes, and then it became very topical with what was happening in the state at the time.
Yeah, so we'll go through this. This is his, what do you call this, a tear sheet?
Tear sheets, yeah.
Yeah.
So journal.
The journal of tear sheets.
So a chronology of his work.
Yeah.
This is very, very early stuff.
Right.
So these would be probably 1949, 50.
Right. So the jokes are more to do with defendants and horse racing, I guess. I don't know, the issues of the day. But I'm really excited about his choice of characters because, you know, when someone that's proficient as Weg, when they do their research, they look at the different designs that the character designs that you can create to tell the story. And he is so inventive. He basically refers to advertising, styles of illustration, and popular culture from the 1950s, jazzy type cartoons, UPA style cartoons. They're all there. They're basically influences, capricious influences that the cartoonist uses to tell a story, a visual story. So these gags, they are like a time capsule. They do refer to issues of time. Oh, that's an interesting alien. Weg's Day on Venus. We get that one in there. Weg's Day on Venus. That's really interesting.
It's a nice line. It's my new footy boots made in Como, China. I keep kicking left.
Yes. Look at the invention that he can get into these characters. It's like every single line he's having fun.
July 24, 1962. So they're a bit later, those ones.
Yeah. But it's just the amount of fun that he would have had.
A few blank pages in there. A few pages have come out. So okay.
Yep. So the problem with this, how did you get this book? This is Weg's.
Barry Green, Weggy's son.
Yeah. Pardon me. Ooh, look at that.
So we're going to do a little bit of gluing in, sticking a few loose ones in. And
these are actually pretty good nick for the time.
Yeah, they're in good nick.
They haven't yellowed.
Yeah.
So this segment in our film will probably be called Under the Liner, reflecting the nature of cartoons as ephemera, which are they're time capsules, as you said before. But you know, for me, I can see influences here. I can see him reading advertising cartoons and watching Mr. Magoo or something, or seeing, you know, how cartoonists would have approach subjects from across the world. So there's a lot of
who's influenced by cartoonists all around the world.
Yeah.
It's ideas from. It's a very Weggy. Oh, here, look at this next page. It's a very Weggy. So Weg gave me all his filing cabinets full of idea starters.
Yeah.
From cartoonists all over the world, and they're cartoons there from the 40s.
So when you say idea starters, he would
look at a cartoon like this, and a lot of these cartoons have. Can you see that type? That's his little bit of handwriting there. See in the red there? Yeah. So it's the Weggy scribble. So we scribble on lots of cartoons and change the cartoon for an Aussie audience.
Yeah.
Or change the vernacular.
So he's not stealing ideas, is he?
Oh no, well I suppose he is. He's borrowing ideas, but he's
using it as an influence,
adapting ideas. But that's where we get our influences from.
Exactly.
We're influenced by art all over the world.
It's pre-Google. So.
He said, he was. He used to tell me sometimes I'm just taking the piss where I do a cartoon like that. I know we had a very cold winter and he just did a white sheet and a white panel and
he's obviously kissed somebody in the fog.
Exactly. And then we had then Melbourne had a power blackout and the cartoon was just a black square, with two little voices going.
So this is the idea. So it's Weg's day, and he broke the rules. So it's almost like he's writing and drawing for the audience. This is not a job for him. This is fun.
Yeah, well, he did it for 40 years. And
so 40 years of fun.
He had a massive following. And he was.
Well, they would have been so appreciative.
It was well loved, and it was
approach to the daily cartoons,
and people loved following him for all that time.
So this is to size, and these would be in the front page.
Front page. Yeah.
Wow.
So this was the pocket cartoon was sort of adopted by newspapers all around the world.
Right. Where does the name come from? It's just their pocket size. You can cut them out.
Pocket size, little pockets. Pocket size, I assume.
Really clever. They're really clever. I'm not reading the gags here, but I'm very, very in awe of his ability to.
I remember him telling me once there was a guy in the UK that started doing the pocket cartoons around the time he did, and I think his name was Lancaster, and Oscar Lancaster, it might have been his name, and he was eventually knighted. And Weg said, I was eventually given the arse.
Well, that's what happens in the colonies, man. It's just such a beautiful technique. There's such a lot of variety in the characters.
And then look at the work in this one. The beautiful. I couldn't agree with you more about it. I couldn't agree.
Which one?
With you more about the peak hour cuts, but would you mind taking your pipe out of my mouth? This is very funny. But the drawing in that, so he wasn't always cheating. That's
how big are these? How big would these be?
Oh, these are how they printed in the paper. So this was the size. So these have been torn out of the newspaper and stuck here.
Yeah, but how big would he do the originals?
Look, I got some of his roughs here. Yep. So they got bigger and bigger. So this is a really early pencil rough from, I would guess, sort of 60s. Do not feed the animals, and Weggy's very hard to read.
The monkey's pointing out, hey, can't you read?
Yeah, hey, can't you read? So that's very early, and you can tell the very early style. Even the pencil that he's used is.
It's loose and charming. It has a beautiful charm about it.
And now these would be later, so that's with fine liner, and that would be much later. So, that's probably a week's day, probably in the mid 70s.
Yeah.
And he's really developed his character style here. The pointy Weggy nose.
Which is him.
And he could read the writing
because he's got a pointy nose. But look at the hand. I love looking at
more
hands
test tube babies soon.
More test tube babies soon.
Test tube babies. I don't know. He knows what he was thinking. So that was the sort of size he'd do rough. That's a whole lot of ideas on robots.
Okay, so the gags come from. He'll read the paper, and he'll come up with all of these possibilities for gags, ideas, right?
Yeah. Oh, here, look, here's one from
So
this is one from 1970. He's actually dated it, and he's actually, I don't know if it's coming out on camera, but he's actually stuck the article with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That refers to the idea.
So he would take that idea into the editor and say, "This is what I'm thinking." November 14th, 1970, and it's a cartoon on, obviously, somebody being married.
Yeah. So it's
Reject
a very
the
organic.
terms of the contract and call for future. I'm not sure what that says.
Free collective
agreement. Yeah.
Free collective bargaining rights.
rights.
So some gag about that topic. So he come up with these ideas, and they're all different sizes. Look at these little scribbles. You might think of them as scribbles, but they're not. They're very, very what's it called? Laser focused on the issues, and that would come up.
But
that would develop into a really cool cartoon.
Wig was like that. It was I've said before,
really
he was very smart man. He was an intellectual, really. And he was, a little active, energetic sort of fellow. This is very wiggy.
So he always had.
So this is a cartoon about two young kids looking at a buxom model on television. This one might have been a reject.
Yeah.
And the kids are saying, "I don't know what they're for unless they hold their dress up." Forget the score. What was the lady wearing?
Yeah.
Yeah, these very wig.
So
you can almost see that spewing ideas out onto a piece of paper just to get them out there, get them down.
Exactly.
And that's how I find going through his stuff. There's always little bits of.
So that's the process, and this is the result. So the result is the really explorative, and again, exploring within. He has a particular style, which is this thick and thin line.
Yeah, I've got some examples.
Like his ink work here.
Okay, so that's probably 50s when he was using
brush.
Charcoal, I think. He used
charcoal.
Crayon. Yeah, he used to
crayon.
Use a big black crayon.
Because the paper would allow you to give you this halftone texture.
Yeah. And he would when he was doing his live stuff, so he'd do the line and he would do the hair very quickly, so he could he'd do your caricature in under 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And he'd use crayon,
Yeah. This is a duotone. It's a spot colour. Sometimes they allow you to put a spot colour in some of the sections of the newspaper.
Yeah, so later in work you'd start using more of the mezzotints. And, so it'd basically be line work and then mezzotint.
So this was in the 60s and 70s. Of course, this was at the height of this technique. He would have been like ahead of the game almost.
Yeah, yes, he would have been. So,
did you want to have a look at that? Let's have a look.
Well, this is an original cartoon, so that's a lot later. So that was from one of Maxie Walker's books, because Bill used to do the cartoons for Max's books. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Max.
So you can tell the simplicity, the inventiveness of the characters, and the thick and thin lines. And usually a thick line denotes like curvature or volume. So you usually use them on round, large objects. Occasionally you mix it up just for fun.
Classic.
To make things punch. Stand out from the background.
Classic weggy line on those and around the cheek here. And then he would put that texture into his mouth, and then he would use his other texture that he had in his hand, and he would do the finer line.
This is more akin to his live drawing technique, which is very rough and
rough
fluid.
More about style and substance.
Yeah.
He was all about his line. The Lion King, as we say.
Yeah, the Lion King.
The Lion King.
Well, that's the first thing that I noticed looking at his work in the in magazines growing up in the 60s.
So we sort of trace. We probably don't need to go through all these, but if we sort of move through now, so
we're going forward in time.
Well, looking at this stuff, immersing yourself in this stuff is like travelling back in time. It's like you're spending time, in the past. You're dealing with political issues and social issues of the period of the particular day.
Yeah.
The clothing, the cars, everything he draws is
Wig's Day.
Because the sales, people are rushing to the sales. We're just missing that on camera.
Yeah, I'll just show you that.
People rushing to the sales, and he's filled the little square up again.
So the type of characters, the inventiveness, the construction, using simple shapes. It's all simple shapes, but he understands those shapes so well, and he can get incredible variety. There's a beautiful character there, and and it's the opposite.
Yeah, wonderful expression too.
Yeah. The expressions sell a cartoon, don't they?
Very, very much.
Because you look at these little angry faces and you think, what are they saying? And then when you read it, then you get a chuckle.
And then his line evolves and his style changes. This is a very common Weggy with the surgeons all over the over the person they're working on.
So these are little references to culture. So this is the patient getting up out of the surgery. Done if I'm going to miss the final day's play.
Yeah.
So he was really into his football.
Well, that's Melbourne. So as a cartoonist, you're dealing with the zeitgeist. So but they're wonderful play of black and white too.
They are. Yeah.
He loved drawing himself, Bill. And it's interesting going through here too. I mean, as a cartoonist, we all do this. We keep everything we ever do that's published, we keep somewhere. We try to. We don't never. As much as we can get it. We don't necessarily stick it. This is
ephemera.
This is interesting. So
artist Weg.
Yeah. So he buys a car, and the number plate was Gag. Right.
Okay.
So now everybody thought that was funny. So
and he didn't ask for it either.
Yeah.
It just happened.
This is a self-portrait up here of him.
So any publicity.
Young Wiggy.
Let's look at the
before the moustache. Look at that.
Yeah.
He wasn't born with the moustache. We thought he might have been.
Well, the moustache crept down from the eyebrows.
Yes, he did have the monobrow.
So
I think we tend to draw ourselves too. So there's a lot of pointy-nosed, spectacle-wearing characters in Weggy's cartoons.
I just love the competency of the style. Just the sheer understanding of characters, expressions, composition, black and white. They use the strength of black and white, how to make these postage stamp sized cartoons jump out from the page.
This is good. Fireworks. So,
Flying saucer XPZ-11 to Mars. Earth has declared war.
Yeah.
That's like Krakenite. Talk a little gag about Krakenite.
Yeah, and then we move to Christmas and another day.
Yep.
Of you kids in this heat, and I'll be like an old man.
Yeah. It's just so awesome. This is as good as the best American cartoonists you see in any of the magazines, Playboy or New Yorker.
A lot of artists
he should really
came
to
Australia and said, we don't have anything like this guy back.
Yeah, no, he's really, really awesome. Like, it's really top of the game. Like, the expressions and everything in here just tell the story so well. And his characters are so inventive.
So he would work early. His deadline was about 9 o'clock. So he would get up at 5, have a quick shower, shave, drive 30 k's from Heathmont to the Herald Sun.
30 k's, yeah.
And then beat the traffic, obviously. Beautiful cricket caricatures there. It's beautiful stuff. And then go across the road, have a really quick brekkie, and then start working and try to get it done by 8:30. And that was every day. And that was 6 days a week.
For how many years?
40 years.
Far out. This is incredible.
So 40 years. So you're talking 49. So he probably started in 47. He probably got the arse around 85, 86. So.
Good, the 1940s style.
But like Weg would have done that
ankles,
for, until he dropped because he loved it.
Shut.
Okay. Oop.
get those girls up there. Beautiful stuff. It's absolutely incredible.
And we go further into the book, and you'll have to show me how. But so in 1953, he starts doing the Wegg's Weekend.
Right.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about Wegg's Weekend. These are
very early. So
issues of the week. These are new cartoons.
Yeah, new cartoons.
They're not rehashed from the week.
No. So they'll be all the things that.
And how big this centre page or top right or something of the newspaper is still not the same, not the whole width.
It would be the first page in.
Yep.
So it would be on page 2, at the top of page 2.
Wow.
And run, what's that, for 8 column lengths.
Yep.
And they got bigger.
Yep.
And it was interesting because I was scanning some of these the other day for Jim Bridges, the president of the Cartoon Museum.
Yep.
And they're all different sizes, you know. So there was no hard and fast on. It's got to be, you know, relatively different. It was, you know.
It would depend on the idea, wouldn't it?
Well, no. I think it was just
the size of the paper.
I think it was just the size. He'd draw it up. He'd have the paper this size, and sometimes they were deeper, and sometimes they were wider, but they were always different. Like they were.
I wonder why.
Never two with it. Oh well, obviously two were the same, but
yeah,
you know, the twain did not meet. And it's an interesting style too. It's because it changed. It's even looser than he became. He became tighter and.
This is zip tone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zip tone is a sort of a water. It's a special paper. Goes really yellow after time too. And
no dates on these, but
like a magic reveal technique where you can just put water or a chemical down and it reveals this dot pattern underneath. So you kind of use almost a watercolor way of dropping in tone.
Which is interesting here.
It just gives it a little bit of difference so it's not all line.
I was just going to say there's no dates for this cartoon up here on John Coleman, so I can you can work out what's happening from the cartoon and you can sort of work out your date.
Yeah. I love these girls that you draw. I just love the expressions. It's just fantastic.
You like the girls, Bill?
Yeah. But just it's just the looking at it. All I do is read expressions, and I see things that really stand out. It's so incredibly exciting to see this.
So in '74, he did a cartoon of Sinatra.
It's almost getting into like cartoon modern, almost. 50s cartoon modern.
He did a cartoon of Sinatra who was coming out, and again, it was a Wegg's Day pocket cartoon. And the joke was because he'd had the run-ins with the press at the time, and Sinatra's nickname was Old Blue Eyes.
Yes.
And there was a press guy standing there with 2 black eyes saying, "I see Old Black Eyes is back." And Sinatra loved it. So he asked for the original and then sent Wegg a lovely letter saying, "Oh man, this is funny," you know, which is very funny because he wouldn't talk to any. All of a sudden, he wouldn't talk to any. Bob Hawke got involved, and they're going to ban his concerts. And
I remember
because I think he said female press
were
hookers.
Hookers, yeah. And, he meant that I think that they get the story. They're mercenary, and they get the story at the end of the day.
And it was taken quite wrongly. And imagine if you said that in 2019, you'd be stoned.
Well, they were kind of. I remember at the time. I think they were almost glad that he said that because it was like they're looking for scuttlebutt or something to inflame the papers with,
which they do now.
And of course, he just played into their hands without.
But interestingly, Green sent a letter of thanks to Bill and telling him how much he loved the cartoon.
Yeah,
obviously he had a sense of humour.
He did. He did indeed, and he was an artist in his own right. I've actually I did a caricature of him for an event. Old Blue Eyes. Didn't thank me for it though.
No.
Yeah,
Yes, we do.
So where are we going now?
Oh well, I was
Yeah, go on.
just jumping forward a bit. So
I'll take your lead.
we're now
Ooh.
moving through time.
Yes, we are.
Moving through time, Mr. Taylor. Here we go. We'll get back on the right pagination. So yeah, so
Yes.
this is where this is what he'd do. He'd throw that piece of paper in there and he'd go, "Here, I can reuse one of these jokes." And so when he did his book, Wegg's World, which I have a copy of here.
Yeah.
He actually took. So this is a chronology of his work, and he actually took some of his favourite cartoons. Oh, there's some lovely girls again.
Yeah,
They out of shot. They're just out of shot.
they are. Let's get them in.
He did like drawing his girls.
Yeah.
So there's a chronology of his work that he did at the time, and he had to redraw them all for the format of the. I have quite a few of these originals. Sorry,
Yeah.
I haven't even got them on screen.
Yeah.
So I've got a few of these originals downstairs, and they're huge. They're massive. They're almost A2.
So, a little bit of the information about this. This is called a countertop book, because in the newsagents, when we had newsagents, these were on the counter next door to the candy, next to the gum and stuff, and the chocolates at the counter near the till. So they fit quite nicely. There's a lovely little caricature of himself.
And his bird characters that he used to make comments.
Yeah. So
he went from
newspapers used to reprint the best of, and this was how you'd see a lot of these cartoonists work outside of the newspaper.
Yeah.
So, and it's also for the newspaper. It's good because it encapsulates an era. That's like
So this was after he left the paper. So I think it was about 89. He produced the book, redrew all the cartoons.
Yeah. Oh, this was after the paper.
Yeah, this was
but still
after
published by the paper itself.
Yeah, so 83 was the last one. So it's, I think it was around 84, 85, or 84.
Yeah.
Well, it was probably given 83 that he was getting out. So.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I always loved that.
Some of the gags are like completely out of context. They don't have a reference to time or space, but they're really, really clever. Because his sense of humour,
very funny.
He was such an incredibly prolific cartoonist. There's literally hundreds of thousands of cartoons.
That's great. You see this Christmas one here with the kid screaming, going, "I've forgotten what I want."
Yeah. So the ideas just came to him, in a storm. That's how you would get this.
And they had to.
Yeah. Wouldn't look at this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cartoons on a page. Wegg's Weekend.
So when he was
big ask.
So when he was let go, Neil Mitchell was the editor at the time, who came in trying to make changes and thought Wegg was archaic and old-fashioned style.
Yeah.
And, as Weggy said, I think I got sacked because I wasn't scribbly enough.
Yeah.
And Wegg had to suffer the ignominy of going into the office and having his work, scrumpled up and thrown in the waste.
His ideas,
basket, in the bin.
Yeah.
We'll say.
Yeah.
And Mitchell didn't last long, but
no.
But there was an outcry, and there was even an outcry from all the cartoonists at the Age who wrote a letter to the editor of the Herald Sun saying, what a disgrace this is. The guy's been doing it for 40 years, and he's well loved. And
well, that's the thing, he talks to the audience. This is the idea with this. All cartoonists should entertain themselves. So it's a selfish act to create cartoons. You basically find something funny, you draw a cartoon about it to prove it. But the idea is in your head. It's from your imagination how you treat it.
And he's never unkind. He's never cruel. He
never
it. Attacks anybody.
Yeah, there's no racial vilification or typing or anything.
He was ahead of his time, wasn't
It's just solely concerned with the gag.
Yep. And the line.
Yeah. Well, the line expresses the gag in a beautiful fashion. You can see how the crayon actually gave you this organic half-tone.
Gave it a great depth.
Yeah.
It is messy, but it gave it a fantastic character.
Yeah.
Looks. I think the crayon ones jump out.
Yeah.
Itself.
Exactly. Yeah. They would be.
They have a lovely feel.
Yeah. Oh, and just in contrast, this is some zip tone, so you can get it. It's a totally different effect.
He was a messy bugger, so the crayon probably wouldn't have helped that. Because I think I remember going around to Bill's and there'd be ink. You just be careful what you lent on, or you get ink all over you. Or he'd give you a book you'd loaned him back and be covered in speckles of ink.
Yeah.
But I've done it every time I drop my ink. I think of Bill. I've actually got a tattoo on the back of my hand.
I have this theory that I think Jim shares it as well. That the news is really easily digested as a cartoon. Whereas you don't have to read the prose that journalists put you through every morning. Or the editor, opinion.
Yeah.
Right? Because most news today is opinion. It's not news at all. It's not in facts. I mean, in certain respect, the cartoon is an opinion, but it's a gag. So it's a lighter way of digesting a news article. If you want to do that, but always the most important thing is the gag itself. So I make a living drawing personalities and people, as do you. And just to see this invention of the way that he uses personalities to tell stories.
The movement in that is beautiful. Those cricketers.
Yeah.
They're holding him, and the way the feet are working, and the way that works as a whole. It's my fingers out of the way, but it's just beautiful. So he did. I was saying before, he later used textures. But this stuff was done with a pen. He used a dip pen and ink, and
I'd love to go
used to get ink
through
everywhere.
this page by page and find things that really stand out and resonate with me. But there's lots of things here from my childhood, and elements of. I could see him studying 1950s cartoons or advertising cartoons.
Oh, very much. I've got 2 filing cabinets full of them.
Yeah. But it all informs his style. I mean, it's obviously his style. They're not lifts or steels.
Oh, very much.
So they just inform him.
So he's doing 6 pocket cartoons a week.
Yeah,
and
the weekend.
And then the weekend. So, he was
he dominates
tireless
the paper.
worker. With the Harlem Globetrotters. Fantastic.
Yeah. Look at that.
Beautiful.
And, they're African American. So, there's certain... You can tell that they're not Europeans, but again, they're treated sensitively.
Captures it so simply with such beautiful lines.
Yeah.
So he'd use.
There's a humanity in his drawings.
So technically, he'd use these Chinese, very very fine nibs. So he'd and then he'd paint in his black with brush and. And I was just starting to say before, I have a tattoo on the back where I stabbed he gave me a few of his nibs, and I was using them one day and dipped in the pen and dipped in and stabbed myself in the back of the hand.
And you still got it there?
I've still got the tattoo.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can see that.
If you can see it there.
So every time I see that dot, I think of Bill, which is a nice thing.
It's a prison tat.
It's my wig
unfinished. You should have got him to finish it.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, his son Barry, his nickname's Spook, and he got Bill to draw.
There should be a whole university dedicated to this man's work.
So he got Bill to draw ghosts on his arms, and he had them made into tattoos. So he's got some of his dad's work on his arms. It's pretty
awesome.
Cool. Yeah. Old Baz.
Yeah.
Or young Baz.
Yeah.
You wouldn't like me calling him Old Baz.
So, really, if you were to compare some of the best cartoons in Playboy magazine or the New Yorker, these stand out incredibly well.
Well, he worked in Playboy, and he worked in Mad magazine, and he'd do full page.
In Australian Playboy and Australian Mad magazine.
Yeah. So where he started in Mad magazine doing cartoons, doing full page cartoons, and playing with different styles, but they're
Yep.
very wiggy. I've got a scrapbook of those too. We could do a book on those one day.
Yeah. I just think he's just so clever.
And his humour is
Just the range of ideas, the range of characters, the styles. Not the styles. The style is all his thick and thin line work, but just the sheer variety of invention that he can get.
There's an example of. These are examples of ones that never got stuck in, which we will do. But that's an example. So that's from Adam magazine.
Adam, yeah,
in 1955.
Wow.
Yeah. So playing with colour.
Yeah.
And
I love these women. There's something very evocative about them. Definitely a 1940s aesthetic.
Yeah, very much. It's at the time.
Yeah. Wow, this is a scrapbook that somebody started, his wife started, or his son.
No, I think he probably did.
Maybe he did and didn't finish it. So this is how you get all this, all these little. Look at them. This is right out of the 1920s.
Oh, I don't think that is.
That's not him.
Yeah, that's what Bill does. He grabs things and goes, "Oh, I like those."
So, okay, so it's really just a
little bit of everything.
Little bit of everything.
And then there's a little cartoon of him down the bottom because he was on the Aspro footy show with Uncle Doug and Jack Dyer.
Yeah.
Assisted by Captain Blood, Jack Dyer.
Well, this is really incredible.
And then there's a couple of his ads.
Oh, this is here we go into my territory now.
And these are not. This is not unlike. He did a comic strip that never went anywhere called Bottle Top. The kid had a little bottle top haircut.
Yes.
He does kids beautifly.
Yeah.
There's not too many guys or girls that do kids as well as Bill. He really got kids well. He's fantastic. Those big round heads and small bodies, and just hit it. And his movement, the movement in that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be read. Wow. So it's a real. Oh, there's a beautiful one. There's a testament to how effective cartoons are. They really stand out.
Yeah.
Heads and shoulders above everything else. In the world of cartoons, Weg, is heads and shoulders above everybody else as well. So this is great. This has been a real treasure. So thanks, Paul. Thanks for the trip down this incredible archive that you've been left with.
We're dragged kicking and screaming back to 2019.
Absolutely, yeah. So don't forget to subscribe. There's more treasures to come.
Some more beautiful Wegs and
channel.
There'll be some more Weg journals and we'll do some other artists too. So.
Absolutely. All right, I'll catch you next time.
Thanks, Frantz.
Bye-bye.
We appreciate your choosing our theater. And to make this experience more enjoyable for everyone, we hope you'll refrain from talking during the show. Enjoy the movie. Thank you.
Well, you've got to make an instant decision. As soon as the person sits down, you've got to make an instant decision how you're going to do that. You can't just suddenly look at a person and say, now, how am I going to do this bloke? But practically before the person sits down, it's instantaneous. You must hit them straight away. You're going to if you, after all these, you immediately. If you can't sum them up immediately, then you're in trouble. Time-wise, if you're working fast. No, I did architecture, Rolf, after I left high school, and I did architecture for a couple of years before I got called up when I was 18. I was able to draw in the army and send cartoons back from New Guinea, which were published, and my first one was about Shaggy Ridge, where I was up at that, It was a very steep place which you had to, scramble like mad to get up the side all the time. And I was strongly influenced by Lionel Coventry's work, who was in the Bulletin, as you can see there. That's a real Coventry shape, the whole thing. But when I saw Coventry's work and the cleanliness of the line and the way he delineated everything, I said, oh well, we all have our first gods to latch onto, so I latched onto when I was doing this one. And
doesn't look like a bag yet.
No, I signed it green then.
So even though you've got your own style, you still like to study the work of others?
Yes, Rolf, you go back. It's like listening to Rachmaninoff. You go back and you hear it again and again and again. And it never stales. Anything good, as you know, Rolf, in this life never stales. Finally, was so good that this is so modern, and that was done way back in the 30s. Look, I had to talk about illustrating the length of noses there, Rolf, and Bill Laurie is enormous length of nose. You can go forever with him, but you see when Kruger does that one like that in full colour, magnificent. The eyes are terribly important in a human face. Whether they smile at you or when you ask them to smile at you, the whole face alters. When they sit there deadpan, because immediately the eyes wrinkled up and the good humour, if they've got any, immediately comes out in the eyes. But the eyes are terribly important in a caricature. You can either do them, or you can make terrible mistakes, and you can bring them off by concentrating. There was one terrible mistake one year which set the hurl back about $20,000 or more. I did the Magpies were playing somebody.
Yeah.
And the Magpies, I can't remember what year it was, and I went to see John Morgan and he called me and he said, have a look at it, okay, you happy with that? I said, no. He said, what's the trouble? He said, the beak's all black. I said, they forgot to route out the white all the way in the beak.
Yeah.
He said, oh, that can't be right, we print them just as it is.
Yeah.
I said, well look, if you print it, I said, I'm never going to do another poster ever again, that's the finish.
Yeah.
I can't have my work going out with a black beak.
Yeah.
So they'd already printed 25,000, so they had to dump the 25,000 and start again. Pessimistic progressive. Because, as I said before, cartooning does make you, well, I didn't say before, but cartooning makes you a pessimist. I'm a complete pessimist. As I said, the same mistakes are being made again. We don't learn from our mistakes. We repeat them over and over again, and you can see this happening all the time.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who's in office, huh?
No, it doesn't matter who's in office. I didn't want to make a political statement so much, Rolf, because it's been proved that the cartoons will not change the political situation. I mean, I've got all the Lowe books up there, magnificent stuff by David Lowe. I don't think Lowe's cartoons ever changed anything politically, but I try to, being more of a humorous cartoonist, try to extract the humour of the situation. Oh, that was an interesting one, with the new Pope. For the first time in 455 years, spaghetti's off the menu. Now that was in 1978, when the first Polish Pope came in. I mean, you'd say with the new Pope, the new German Pope, you could say for the first time in so many years, apple strudel is on the menu. You might make a political statement like in that one there, Rolf, where on Australia Day in 1969, Aboriginal land rights become a popular cause. Wegg links the movement with Australia Day celebration. As I just said, it says it's Australia Day. If they were fair dinkum, they declare it black. In 1967, Bolte was, when they were going to hang Ryan, and he's naturally looking at public opinion against barbaric decision to hang Ryan, and Bolte says, I can just make out the last two words, hang Ryan. Menzies said that at the luncheon I was at, sitting next to him, he said, cartoons are very evil people. I think he had his tongue in his cheek there, but he took it lightheartedly. 1952, the world now shares Wegg's concern about the disposal of atomic waste. More than 30 years ago, he was a prophet in the wilderness, and he's saying to her, "Righto, lady, don't buy me wood. Wait for the atomic fuel if you like, or what'll you do with the radioactive ashes?" That was about Paris, there, Venice, and Paris again, Honolulu, when the Queen's doing the stripping of the colour and all that. San Francisco into the Chinese Quarter thereof, Scotland, New York, Vietnam, India, good old Taj.
You've been everywhere.
A week's World of Women in which I had to write for the Sun what I thought about the women all over the world. Yes, but this is the sort of cartoon which happened in the afternoon, and I had to go back and draw it at night. Spend 2 or 3 hours drawing it, and then post it back next day at the Herald. But I'm in here somewhere. Jones here giving me advice.
What? I shows you how I spent all that money on his wife. You won't give me 30 bob a week more for housekeeping.
Los Angeles, yes. Yeah, the madhouse of the world. Keep going or else. Well, people who don't know you, they say, "Can they come up there?" And I say, "You know, you're good." And I say, "Yes, I'm working at it," which is the truth.
Thanks for the sour persimmons, cousin.